what TUPE states is that it will protect any employees' contracts under a transfer, with exception of any economic, technical or industrial reason, which basically means everything. Any exception is valid to not only to change the contracts, but also to legitimize redundancies. So at this outsourcing process, redundancies are, it's ensured that there will be no redundancies under TUPE, but under TUPE there is basically very little assurance here.
In an effort to outsource, what you're doing is exchanging one provider to a single monopoly global provider. So the idea that a monopoly on campus can provide more choice, or be more efficient, or offer greater competition just doesn't really hold.
And one thing that is abundantly clear, I know a lot of students have kind of been talking about the possibility that there might be a Starbucks on campus and stuff like that now. But from actually talking to the staff that are involved in this processes, it's pretty clear that something like that is not going to happen at all. Because I think it's important to remember that all of these catering outlets are now going to go to one single provider, and that's not going to be a franchise. So.
Indicates, and this is vital and one of our main arguments as well, is in an institution such as a university, this is so different. These services are an inherent part of your university experience. They are not just some service you go to, these are people that you come into contact with multiple times throughout your day over the course of 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So in the university experience and community enhancement point of view, this is very important, but from an outsourcing point of view as well. These services provide an image of the university, an inherently essential image. This is the image, the Sussex experience, that we like to call it, that you sell to new students. This is what you provide to new students and bring them in. And as much as you like to talk about catering and talk about sponsors, the main income of a university is tuition fees. You need students.
When a private provider comes in, they have a certain way of doing things, and they'll try to use the way they do things as a way to change what's being done on the ground, and that obviously will mean some impact, a significant impact on the staff, a significant impact in terms of what kind of services are delivered. Often the very services that are being privatized, these have grown organically out of the operations of the university, and so they tend to reflect more specifically the needs of people on the ground here.
I think the general effects on the campus community will be that it will disintegrate. If you look at the campus community now, porters know the students who work in their halls, security know the students, the first years who live on campus, and in a privatisation scenario, those people would be shifted constantly, which would mean that they'd never become particularly familiar with any faces, and I think that would actually be a massive loss in terms of community. And also, the workers that work on campus now are a community in and of themselves, which is separate to the students, and that community would be completely destroyed because they'd lose their jobs or have their jobs changed in terms of their rotation.
I've been working here 11 years. The university is a community. The students aren't just customers, they're your friends, supporters, especially during this time. And you get to know people. I still get students coming back that were here like 5-6 years ago, because you develop relationships. It's not just, that's a customer, do your job. That's what university is. It's about community. It's about having that sort of trust with the students and the staff. And that happens all over campus, not just in the residencies. It happens with the plumbers and all that, and down in the bottom end, the caterers and all the rest of it. The catering staff, I've seen family flats go down to catering, and they know they want halal food, they know the names of the kids. It's a community, but that's going to stop completely. A private company come in, you're told to do a job, you're not there to make friends, you're there to perform a role, be paid for it, probably less, and then be sent on your way. The community of Sussex will just disappear. There will be students in lectures, and then there'll be customers in all the other areas that are services right now for the students. So yeah, I mean, working for a private company, that's not what I signed up for. I signed up to work for the university and to be part of this community.
very different. I'm very proud to work in the public sector, supporting public good. My main duty, as I understand it, is to the students under my care. I'm employed by the university to fulfil that role. I don't have any obligation to shareholders. I have no obligation to help anyone increase their profits, as I understand the job. So it would change massively. My job goes from being in the public interest to being in the private interest of the very wealthy.
The administration has claimed this as being a success, as a proof that privatization can operate very smoothly and successfully. I think what's very striking about that is not simply the fact that it seems to contradict the experience of both parents and staff on the ground, but also that there's been no consultation from management to see whether it was a success. We haven't been asked what we think about it. There's been no, the staff haven't been asked about their experience of it. It's simply been declared in a quite arbitrary way.
It's not just, this isn't just happening at Sussex. I think this is happening around the UK, in as much as it's part of a process of the marketisation of higher education across the country. So this isn't a standalone thing done by an evil management team. I think, let's take free courses for example. They are the cleaners and caterers and the security staff in the University of London, and they were outsourced, and now they are fighting for free demand, which are essentially sick pay, pensions and holiday, and their fight is symptomatic of what the workers who are possibly going to be outsourced here will have to go on to fight.
Queen Mary University is one that stands out for me because it was privatized over 10 years ago, the cleaning services, in a university environment. And the cleaning services, first of all, the quality of service dropped instantly, and that was noted by students and staff. And secondly, the working conditions of staff was immediately lowered to minimum wage in central London, where if you're living on minimum wage, you're not really living at all. You're on the breadline. They used to get the London living wage, and after a few years of complaints from staff and students and campaigns to bring it back in-house in 2006, or might have been 7, don't quote me on that, it was brought back in-house by the university. The wages were raised to the London living wage, and now it's one of the key symbols that the university, Queen Mary University itself, is using to show how good of an employer it is, by saying that actually we are providing the London living wage for our staff. And I mean, that's an example where privatization on the one hand reduces the quality of service for the service users, such as staff and students, whilst at the same time lowering the working conditions of staff. I mean, similarly, at the Royal County Hospital in Brighton, lowered wages, lowered job security and pension contributions was one of the first things that happened when Sodexo, a private outsourcing company, took over during Christmas in 2012, and they took over catering and cleaning. And I mean, that's only 2 examples of hundreds across the country.
Everybody's fearful of what will happen, and everybody's fearful the relationship between students and staff will break down. Because right now it's a nice place to work. Well, it's getting worse, but it's a nice place to work, and you get on with the students, and the students get on with us.